Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. I have ventured into the world of Reddit, more specifically Reddit no sleep, and oh my god. I have honestly only been on Reddit like a handful of times, like clicking links from like Facebook or Instagram that have like led me to Reddit, but I like just went onto Reddit and I was like, I want to read a couple of things. I like really want something spooky, and oh my Lanta. I have found some amazing stories, primarily ones that I just like skimmed through, and I want to share with you guys because I want you guys to experience what I'm experiencing at the same time. So I did find someone, I think it's Kilo or Kylo AG, and he wrote a story called It Whispers, and it seems like it's going to be a series, and this is his first entry. And I am following him. I clicked the little button. I don't know what I did, but I clicked the button, and I guess I get to read the next one when the next one comes out, and I cannot wait, and I will read the second one with you guys as well. But before we get into the actual story, go ahead and subscribe down below so you can also keep up to date, and go ahead and check out my links. I will link his direct page if I can figure that out. I'll try. I mean, I didn't write the story. He needs to get his credit, so I will link that down below, and you guys can go check him out, follow him, let him know how much you love it, comment on his thing, because that takes a lot to write these stories. But yeah, go ahead and subscribe, check out all of my links. You might like what you see. I put out all different kinds of videos, and yeah, you're bound to like one of them. So let's get started. This is It Whispers, entry 1. It whispers to me at night. I first heard it about 2 weeks ago. Fleeting ramblings in a dark corner of my room, barely audible over the noise of the fan above me. The words were incredibly hard, impossible actually, to distinguish, and it only spoke once every couple of minutes. It seems to be an incoherent mess, like the thoughts of a psychotic expressed out loud. And then, after this had continued for just under an hour, it suddenly stopped. It was unsettling to say the least. I was unnerved by the situation and much too on edge to fall asleep immediately following it. However, I had been drinking that night, so while hearing those whispers had sobered me right up, I determined that it must have been some sort of alcohol-induced auditory illusion. Still, sleeping wasn't easy that night. I forgot about it in the following days, but it didn't recur. I just assumed that I had been right to doubt that I had heard that night. Life just went on from there. I went to my classes at uni, worked, spent time with friends, and even joked about my drunken hallucinations with them, and slept each night without the slightest disturbance. It was also normal, and I wish I could say that it stayed that way. It didn't, of course. Why else would I be sitting here typing this out if it did? So inevitably, it picked back up just a few nights ago. I distinctly remember laying in my bed, trying to fall asleep and get some much needed rest before the next day of school. Just as I was about to pass out, I heard it begin. My heart immediately started beating faster and faster. I didn't know if you'd ever heard something abnormal in your home while you're alone, but the feeling of dread in that moment is nearly overwhelming. A disconcerting combination of terror and anxiety took over me, and my thoughts raced as I tried to find a reason not to be afraid of this whispering. But I couldn't. I reached over to the lamp on my nightstand and clicked it on. It bathed most of the room in a comforting light. The corner where the whispering was coming from remained shrouded in a veil of unnatural shadow. It shouldn't have been dark, still, yet it remained exactly that. Without a second thought, I jolted out of my bed, grabbed my phone, and called one of my friends asking to spend a couple of nights at their apartment. I literally have goosebumps right now. I'm home alone. This is a horrible idea. Oh my goodness. Okay, back to the story. I came up with some bullshit air conditioning excuse to explain why I wasn't staying at my own place. The truth is, I was much too frightened by whatever accompanied me in my room that night. I began to question my sanity, I couldn't rationalize the situation, which made me feel as if I was continuing to suffer from some sort of hallucination. Maybe it's because I'm too stubborn to admit if I ever need help, but I just couldn't bring myself to believe that it was an issue with me. I had heard it, and I had sort of seen it. It was real, and I knew it. I spent the next 2 nights in a relative comfort of my friend's apartment. I thanked him for opening up his home for me, although I don't think he understood how appreciative I was. It was soon time to return to my place and face whatever the hell it was that decided to take up residence in my room. I hoped, very, very dearly hoped, that it would cease again. Moreover, I hoped that I could just laugh it off and forget about it as soon as possible. To not have this fear weighing on me in my own home would be a blissful reprise of the life that I had before this thing joined me. The night began relatively smoothly. I had a late but quite tasty dinner, caught an episode of my favorite show, and still had enough time to relax before I decided to go to sleep. I had been reading an article on some upcoming horror movie when I realized it was 11:37 p.m. I decided to call it a night there. It had been a long day for me with work and school, so I was ready for this sweet embrace of sleep. I passed out in short order. I woke up in a sweat in the middle of the night. I had been having a dream that I had about that damned whispering and was so unsettled that my brain must have decided that enough was enough and that I had to wake up. I checked my phone, 12 p.m. That didn't make sense, to say the least. How had so little time passed? No matter, I thought. I'll just go back to sleep. Then, lo and behold, I heard it again. If this were a movie, I would have been aggravated with the level of cliche that this situation had reached. Unfortunately, this wasn't just a movie where I could watch the situation objectively as the film innocently played out its events and nobody was truly facing any sort of threat. No, to my dismay, this was truly happening. The whispering was still too quiet to make out, but it sounded aggressive this time around. This was new and disturbing. I'm not sure where I summoned it from, but a seed of courage began to swell up inside of me, not enough for me to approach the whispers, but enough for me to reach over, turn on my lamp, and then ask the whispers with a few morsels of confidence, "What do you want? What are you?" Silence. Complete and utter silence. In addressing or simply acknowledging the whispers, something has changed. I felt it. That courage that had swelled up inside of me shriveled up and died like a worm on concrete. The hot sun had brought on the worm's demise was the purest fear I had ever felt. The whisperings couldn't have just disappeared. Nothing just disappears like that. And I don't believe in the supernatural, so there's only one plausible explanation left. It had to still be there. And its silence meant but one thing. It knew I was there. Before, it had seemed detached, non-human even, but as soon as I acknowledged it, I let it know that I was aware. That was a mistake. I continued staring into the dark corner where the whisper had once lived. I was too frightened by the thought of what might happen if I looked away for the briefest moment. For what seemed to be eons, I stared. And the darkness stared back at me. I couldn't blink, I couldn't move, I couldn't think. I could only watch in paralyzed fear, waiting for it to do something. And then, almost as if it knew what I was thinking, it did. Two pale, yellow, anthropomorphic eyes slowly opened and met mine. Alarmingly, the whispers resumed as the eyes peered into my very being. The way those eyes looked at me, it sent chills down my spine and throughout my body. The whispering got more aggressive again, without increasing in volume. It was menacing in tone, as if it wanted nothing more than just to see me wiped off the face of the earth. even if I wanted to wishfully believe that the whispers were benign. I couldn't. I knew that this was unnatural, unsafe, and that I most certainly was not in control. Something to my core clawed at the back of my brain, telling me to flee, telling me to choose the latter option in fight or flight. I wish I could have, but I truly was paralyzed by fear or simply hypnotized. I don't know. I stayed there, frozen in place until morning. As soon as light broke the pane of my window, the whispers ceased. I fell back asleep shortly thereafter, but was up again within an hour getting ready for school. That was last night. Tonight I will wait and watch. If it whispers, I'll hear it. If it looks at me, I'll see it. Hopefully, I can figure out a better way to handle it this time around. I'll update as soon as possible. Until then, I'll sign off. Wish me luck. Holy cow, that was so good. I am like, I need part 2 so badly, but this video is getting a little bit long, but it was a long story and it was totally worth it. But I'm sorry if I stumble over a couple of words. I'm gonna try and edit out like my little mess ups, but my reading this is the first time I'm actually reading it. Anytime I pick them, I just scan them really quickly because I want to react with you guys. So I'm sorry if some things get a little jumbled, but yeah, I'm so excited. Subscribe. Go check out all of his other stories because I am so into it. But yeah, I hope you guys have a fantastic evening, morning, night, afternoon, whatever time it is, wherever you are. I hope you guys have a good one. Stay spooky.